200-something years after the flood. Now they've come together. Adonai said, I want you all to go out and spread over all the face of the earth. And what do they decide to do? Just like man. Let's all get together and come together. And if we study this, we also see that they built the city by mixing mortar. Mixing things. This has to do with a mixing. Everybody say mixing. This was a mixing of peoples, of concepts, ideals, and values. The mortar for the buildings had to be mixed. As I study this, I couldn't help but think about, in history, there's always two cities. It's like the author used to say, the tale of two cities. What would those two cities be? Jerusalem and Babylon. Jerusalem, the city of glory, the city where he places his name. This city that we refer to, the New Jerusalem, we're thinking of the New Jerusalem. Babylon, the city of man's ideals, the city of man's glory, where man places his name, where man is lifted up. The ideals and concepts of man. One city, we see beauty and perfection. The other city, we see prettiness. We see fleshiness. We see things that attract the eye. One city's beautiful, one city's pretty. We'll talk about that in just a moment. One city for mortar Babylon has sludge, mortar and sludge and slime. The King James says slime between the walls. The New Jerusalem has beautiful gates and beautiful stones, jewels and gemstones. You see the difference between the two cities? Both cities appear to be strong. In Hebrew, Babel, if you were to look at Babylon, the root word is this. It's a bait, and a lamed. And in Hebrew, there is a word picture here that we see. A house, and what's the lamed? Authority or teacher staff. Teacher staff. It has to do with authority. It has to do with power. Everybody say authority. So it has to do with the shepherd. How many of you know that there's always got to be some authority in the house? In fact, if you were to take the word for Av, the word for dad in Hebrew, the Aleph is strength. The bait represents the house. So the word for father in Hebrew is the strength of the house. Okay? But look at this house. The word for Babel, or Balel in Hebrew, it has to do, Babel is house, and authority. And I looked at that and I thought, well, why two houses in the term for Babylon? No, it's not going to go where you think. Think about this for a moment. Notice in Babylon there were two houses. There was a city, and there was a tower, and there was an authority over both. A city. It doesn't just say that they build a city, but they build a city and both of those represent something. We're going to talk about that this morning. If you have questions or comments, raise your hand. The origins of Babylon actually began in Genesis or Bereshit 10, verses 9 and 10. Let's go there if we could. Genesis 10. We're getting this full Star Trek effects today. Genesis 10, 9 and 10 speaks of the lineage of early man. Now, follow this because they had just come out of the flood. Noah and his 3 sons had come out of the flood. And now, here's the lineage. Verse 9, it says, actually go to verse 8. Now Cush became the father of Nimrod, and he became a mighty one on the earth. He was a mighty hunter before Yahweh, before Adonai. Therefore it is said, like Nimrod, a mighty hunter before Adonai. The beginning of his kingdom was Babel, in the land of Shinar. Now Nimrod was a mighty hunter before Adonai. Everybody say mighty hunter. Literally in Hebrew, Nimrod, a mighty hunter before Adonai, was the word for before has to do with the Hebrew word face, or before the face. It has to do with the Hebrew word panim. Everybody say panim. Panim. It means face. So the connotation here is this. Nimrod was one who was in the face before Adonai's face. And this is not in a good sense. This is in a sense where this man was literally sinning in the face of the Almighty. Flaunting his sin. He was against him. So the connotation here is seen as rebelling in Adonai's face. In fact, Nimrod comes from the Hebrew word marad, which means he rebelled. Everybody say he rebelled. Now, understand that Nimrod's origin, he was of a godly lineage. His family had come from the ark. These folks had come off of the ark. His family was saved in that lineage. But we see that Nimrod had to do with setting his own rules, and he was a person who was against the Torah. Now we say, well, the Torah wasn't given yet, but the concepts of Torah were given. They understood that there is a way. Adonai made the way. Yahweh shared with them how to do things, how to live their life. Abraham taught many people about the ways of Adonai. Noah did sacrifices. How did they know how to do that? There was a sense they understood this. Remember Cain and Abel? How many remember Cain and Abel? One understood how to do the sacrifices in a proper way, and the other one said, no, I'm not doing it that way. One sacrifice was received, the other was not. You need to understand something about Nimrod. Nimrod was a man who dared to be in the face of Adonai and say, I'm going to do things the way I want them. I don't need to do them this way. In fact, I'm going to do them so well my way that I'm going to prosper and I'm going to succeed. And he did them his way and not the ways of Adonai. Questions or comments? Yes.